and say I'm Dori Cabillo, Director at Nexus Psychology and psychologist. Today we are going to be talking about nutrition, and we're changing things up a little bit where Amelia will be doing the mindfulness session on mindful eating, and then Annette will take us through some information regarding nutrition. Welcome people coming on board. It's a beautiful day outside. It's lovely that you've joined us online today. Again, we are putting all of our sessions on YouTube on the Nexus Psychology channel, so you're welcome to access that at any point. And if you want a personal sort of reminder about the sessions, just put your email in a private chat to me and I'll make sure that we update you each week on what we're doing. But without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Amelia, who's doing the mindfulness first this time, and then she'll be followed by Annette. And I'll put everyone on mute, but we will open up for discussion as we usually do towards the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Dori. Okay, so welcome everybody. Really nice to see you all, see the familiar faces and the new faces. And so today we're going to be going through a nourishing mindful practice before Annette talks to us a little bit more in depth about nutrition. So just getting comfortable in your chair, and I invite you to gently close your eyes if that feels natural for you. Otherwise, gently lowering your gaze and starting to connect to your breath. And we're going to start off today with 3 breaths, and we're going to do a breath in, then we'll hold, and then we'll breathe out slowly. So let's begin the first breath. Breathing in, hold, and breathe out slowly. Another breath in, hold, and breathe out slowly. One more time, a deep breath in, hold, and breathe out slowly. Noticing your body in your chair, getting a sense of your back against the back of the chair, noticing your legs on the seat of the chair, your feet on the ground, your hands in your lap. Getting a sense of being in your body, of you sitting in the chair with your feet on the ground. And now I invite you to think of a safe place, and it can be an imagined place or a real place, just any place where you feel truly relaxed and calm and where no one wants anything from you. Really getting a sense of how it feels to be sitting in that safe place. And what we're doing is creating a safe place for you to nourish yourself through this practice without any external distractions. And now I invite you to place your hand on your belly or bring your attention to this area. And noticing how your belly moves as you breathe in and out. Really connecting with that part of your body, your stomach, your intestines, your other organs. And sending some kindness to that part of your body. Really nourishing your belly and your lower abdomen with your attention. And now, placing your hand on your heart or focusing your attention there, connecting to your heart space, your rib cage, your lungs. How is your breath flowing at the moment? And as we're focusing on this part of the body, I invite you to nourish your relationship with yourself. Taking some time to send some loving energy to yourself. Acknowledging yourself for being here today, for taking time to nourish yourself. And with your hand on your heart, acknowledge the other people on the call. And send some love and compassion to them too. And taking your attention into your community and sending some nourishing thoughts to the other people in your life. And perhaps there's someone in particular who you know needs some nourishment at this time. Visualizing that person and send them some kindness, nourishing them with your attention. And now placing your hand on your forehead or focusing your attention in that area, the space between your eyes. Connecting to your head, your face, your skull, your brain. Relaxing your face and sending nourishing thoughts to your brain. Acknowledging yourself for your wisdom. And perhaps asking, is there anything else that you would like to be acknowledged for today? Take some time and give yourself that acknowledgement. Addressing yourself as you would a good friend. Now taking a breath in and returning your hands to your lap. Integrating this experience of self-nourishment. Noticing your in-breath and your out-breath. Bringing your attention to any sounds outside the room. Then moving your attention into the room. What sounds can you hear? Noticing your back against the back of the chair. Your legs on the seat of the chair. Your feet on the floor. Your hands in your lap. And just notice how you feel after this nourishing practice. Giving your fingers and toes a little bit of a wiggle. Allow yourself to come back into the room by gently opening your eyes when you're ready. And so I'll pass you over to Annette, who has got some really interesting information to talk to today about how we can nourish our bodies through the food and the drink that we consume. Thanks, Annette.
Hi, everyone. Amelia, thank you so much. It was such a treat for me to actually do a meditation rather than give a meditation. So it was lovely. Thank you so much for that. And welcome everyone to those of you who have come back to our community sessions. And for something different, I'm going to do some talking. So Amelia spoke a lot about nourishing her cells, and we're actually going to talk a little bit more about nourishing yourself with nutrition. So over the last few weeks, Amelia's been going through this wellbeing circle. Last week we spoke about relationships. I think the week before we did something on sleep. So this week we're doing healthful eating. And to begin with, I want you to all think about what would it be like if we put the wrong kind of fuel into your vehicle? So what would happen to your vehicle if you put the wrong kind of fuel in? And by the way, anytime, feel free to write something in the chat box that we can see, and or comments or answers to perhaps some of the questions I'm asking. So the reason I've put this image up here is often we treat our vehicles better than we actually treat our own bodies. We would never put the wrong kind of gasoline purposefully into a diesel car, vice versa. And it's the same with us, except that we probably don't spend as much time thinking about that. So what I'd like to talk about today is 4 things, is becoming mindful of how you eat, becoming mindful of what you eat and drink, mindful of how you feel after you eat and drink, and then how do we make mindful choices when it comes to eating. And there's that wonderful saying, you are what you eat. And it's the same as putting the right fuel into our car. If we put the wrong fuel into our car, our tank, we probably find that over time we'll experience some wear and tear, and we won't necessarily work or function optimally. We may get some illnesses and some issues. So let's first talk about mindful of how you eat. And ask yourself the question, do you eat mindfully or do you eat mindlessly? And what does that actually mean? So when we talk about eating mindfully, it means the same as when we're doing a mindful meditation. We're bringing all of our senses to the present moment. So we're aware of what we're eating. We can taste the food, we can smell the food, we're connecting to all of our senses. We're aware of the texture, the colour. And mindful eating or eating mindfully also means that we're in tune with what we're eating. We know how we feel after we eat. We know that we've made a conscious choice about what we are eating. We also understand the value of nourishing our bodies and what it means to put nutrition into us. Now, on the other side of that, mindless eating, like the picture on our right, is when we eat unconsciously. I wonder how many times you've found yourself shoving food while you're at your desk, or multitasking while you're doing a few things, or sitting in front of the TV and getting through a whole block of chocolate before you even realise what it tasted like. It's gone, and sometimes you don't even remember what you ate, or if you ate, or when you ate. So that would be an example of eating mindlessly. Some other examples of mindless eating could be following fad diets and depriving your body of food, or binge eating, or just eating for the sake of eating without being aware of where the food has come from, taking something off the shelf without even thinking what the ingredients are. So remember, feel free to put in anything in the chat box. Might be your own examples of mindful eating or mindless eating that you would like to share, and we can talk about it at the end. Actually can't see the chat box on my screen. So Dori, are you able to see it? Okay, all right. So when we talk about, I've just gone back a slide, sorry, previous slide. We talk about mindful of what you're eating. This is the second point. And then in that question, I want you to ask yourself, are you eating real food? Or are you eating unreal food? Now, what does that actually mean? So when we talk about real food, we're referring to food that's created by nature, whole food. And this is what gives us the best nourishment our bodies could want. So the pictures show us fruit, vegetables, anything that's created by nature, eggs, meat, nuts, seeds, legumes, anything that has grown and been created by nature is what's called a whole food. And in its whole form, it provides us with an amazing amount of nourishment. On the other side, we call, or what I call, an unreal food is a food that has actually been modified by man. So it's a processed food, a packaged food, a food that's been sweetened, and really they're foods that have been modified to prolong their shelf life, to reduce calories and fats in them, to make them taste better. And often they're done by adding artificial sweeteners, extra sugars, lots of additives, flavouring agents and preservatives. And these things can be really difficult for the body to recognise as foods, difficult for the body to digest, and often can create havoc in the body. But many of us may not even be aware of that. And also, a lot of these unreal foods or processed foods are often nutritionally empty. So they're not really serving our bodies to function optimally. So an example I've given you here is what would be the difference with the ingredients that we would find in a frozen pizza that we would buy off a supermarket shelf versus what we would make at home by ourselves. So if I was to make a pizza at home on my own, I would make the dough out of flour and water. I would put a whole lot of fresh veggies on it with some fresh mozzarella cheese, maybe some fresh meat on it. But if we look at the ingredients on this, what we call a processed frozen food, you can see there's numerous numbers. A lot of, we can see there's actually poor fats in it. So they're modified man-made oils in it, not natural oils. There's emulsifiers, antioxidants, there's salts, added sugars, added flavours, there's antioxidants added into it, more emulsifiers, thickeners, vegetable proteins in it, preservatives, thickeners, sugars, and more salt, more flavours, more spices, etc., etc. So when we think of eating, what we often think, oh, well, I'm having a pizza tonight. There's a whole pizza, and then there's a pizza that can perhaps wreak havoc with your body. So another example I just wanted to give of that is something like, oh, we often think we're eating something healthy. Tonight I'm going to make my family some Mexican tortillas, and I've got lots of fresh salad to add with some fresh meat, and we're going to wrap it in a tortilla. But the tortillas that I've actually bought off the supermarket shelf are not so healthy, because if we look at the ingredients on them, they're also filled with what should be made with flour and water, is filled with a whole lot of additives and colours and flavours so that it can last long on the shelf, so it can taste great, and we want to reach out for more. So that's another example to consider. The other area that's really important for us to consider is, how are you hydrating yourself? And hydration is one of the most important things that we can do for our bodies. And many illnesses and aches and pains and even mental health is because we're not getting enough hydration. So asking yourself, am I hydrating myself enough, and what am I hydrating myself with? So for example, if caffeine, most of us know that caffeine is a dehydrant. It doesn't mean you don't need to drink caffeine. It means that if you are drinking caffeine, you need to extra hydrate yourself with even more water. If you are drinking alcohol, you need even more hydration. But then there's also things to consider with, what am I putting into my body that I'm hydrating myself with, and is it giving me nourishment, or is it giving me punishment? So for example, soft drinks like a can of Coke, often soft drinks and even a lot of fruit juices can contain up to 10 spoons of sugar in one can. Now that's nutritionally devoured. It can play havoc with your mental health, with your blood sugar levels, weight gain, and the list can go on. I can discuss that for hours on end. So mindful of, how am I hydrating myself? And then the third thing that we're going to look at here is mindful of how you feel. How is your energy after you eat? So you've eaten your lunch or your breakfast, and it's about noticing, do I feel really good after breakfast? Am I feeling energized, or do I feel really tired and sluggish 5 minutes later? So it's tuning into how the food you are eating is affecting your health. How are you feeling? Are you feeling bloated after you eat? Are you getting lots of constipation? Are you getting diarrhea after you eat? These are all signs to tune into, that what you are, what you eat, and it can affect you. Food is directly related not only to our physical health, but also our mental state. So how is your mental state, and how is the food and drink that I am consuming affecting me mentally? How's your physical health? How's your fitness? How's your weight? What kind of medical conditions are you experiencing? And all of these are very important issues to take into account when you are thinking about your diet. So in summary, we want to say it's really important to make mindful choices. We need to think about where our food comes from. We need to think about, is it nourishing me or is it punishing me? You need to think about, is it close to nature? Is the food real, or is it an unreal food? Is it highly processed? Does it make me feel good, or does it make me feel bad? And I think it's also really important to say that there is no one size fits all. All of us have different bodies. All of us have different body types. And while some foods work for me, they won't work for you. And it's really important for you to get in touch with what works for you. There are some vegetables that don't work for me, even though they're a whole good food. And there are some vegetables that don't work for you. There are certainly some additives that I know that if I eat, I will feel straight away. So while others can eat a lot of processed food and they don't feel it at all. So it's really important to understand there's no one size fits all. And that's the same with diets. There is a lot of propaganda out there. There's a lot of media and marketing. And you need to really ask yourself the mindful questions. Am I understanding what this is about? Educate yourself. Understand before you take on anything. Avoid fad diets, avoid quick fix solutions, but rather take a mindful whole approach to your health, a lifestyle approach. This doesn't mean that we have to deprive ourselves by never eating junk food, but we do it in moderation, that we never can drink or have a treat. We can, but we do it in moderation if we can ensure that we're also putting a lot of nourishment into us. Food is there to be enjoyed. We need to enjoy this amazing array of food that we've been given, but we also need to be educated about it. And I know it's a big topic, but what I would like you to do is feel free to come onto your cameras now and share perhaps some of your experiences of what challenges you have with eating mindfully, whether you notice that you eat mindfully, whether you don't eat mindfully. Perhaps you want to even give an example of what you've discovered with food. So I'll just turn my I'll stop my screen sharing and invite you all to take your